let's set the record straight. The real threat isn't the person who glares at you from across the room. It's the one who smiles warmly, laughs at your jokes, maybe even brings you coffee, while secretly wishing you would disappear for good. It sounds dramatic, perhaps even paranoid. But history, experience, and common sense all agree on one truth: appearances are often deceiving, and danger wears a friendly face more often than a scowling one. Right now, someone in your life could be plotting against you, and you might not see the signs until it's too late. You see, hatred is easy to spot. Anger is loud. But hidden malice? It's polite. It's charming. It blends in perfectly. That's why the greatest threats aren't always the loudest, they are the ones hiding in plain sight. This isn't about fear. It's about survival. It's about awareness. Today, we're going to uncover 5 subtle but deadly signs that someone doesn't just dislike you, they want you out of the picture entirely. Recognizing these patterns early could save not just your peace of mind, but your life. So, stay sharp. Stay alert. Let's begin. 1. The silent observer, the quiet watcher in the shadows. One of the most chilling and dangerously overlooked signs that someone in your life might secretly wish you harm is what I call the silent observer. They're not loud. They're not obvious. In fact, on the surface, they seem harmless, maybe even a little shy or reserved. But make no mistake, these individuals are not simply watching. They are studying you. Unlike harmless curiosity, the silent observer gathers information with quiet, deliberate precision. They memorize your routines, what time you go for your morning walk, which grocery store you prefer, even when you leave town for a weekend trip. They might know your favorite coffee order, even though you've never shared it. At first, it all feels coincidental, until it doesn't. In today's hyper-connected world, surveillance doesn't require a van parked outside your house. It only takes a few social media posts, a few comments from mutual friends, a few casual observations to build a complete map of your life. And while most people overlook these patterns as mere coincidences, predators count on that. They count on your hesitation, your self-doubt, and your American courtesy that tells you to not make a big deal out of nothing. I once heard a story about Christine, a woman who thought she had simply crossed paths with her ex-boyfriend too often to be random. At the park. At the grocery store. Even on a hiking trail she had just discovered. Friends told her she was overthinking. But when she changed gyms, altered her commute, even switched stores, and he still appeared, Christine realized it wasn't coincidence. It was premeditation. The silent observer's greatest weapon is your own doubt. They move slowly, carefully, blending in so that when something feels off, you second-guess yourself. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus warned us not to trust appearances blindly. True wisdom, they taught, is not just noticing a disruption, but investigating it with calm, clear-eyed discernment. If someone in your life seems to know too much, appears in too many places without a clear reason, or simply triggers that uncomfortable feeling deep in your gut, don't brush it aside. Patterns don't lie. Instincts don't lie. Coincidences happen once or twice. But when they become a pattern, it's time to listen carefully. You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live with awareness. Change your routines occasionally. Protect your privacy. Question the coincidences that don't sit right with you. Your peace of mind, and in some cases, your safety, may depend on it. Remember, the greatest danger isn't the enemy who shows their teeth. It's the one who watches silently, patiently, waiting for you to drop your guard. Stay awake. Stay vigilant. 2. The Saboteur strategy, the quiet campaign to tear you down. Not every enemy attacks you head-on. Some use whispers instead of punches, and smiles instead of frowns. This brings us to the second chilling sign, the Saboteur strategy. When someone doesn't just dislike you but truly wants to see you fall, they often don't start with open hostility. Instead, they begin a quiet, calculated campaign of character assassination. Their goal isn't just to hurt you, it's to isolate you, to make sure when you fall, there's no one left to catch you. Here's how it works: instead of confronting you directly, they spread small seeds of doubt among your friends, your colleagues, even your family. They might say things like, "I'm worried about her lately, she doesn't seem herself," or "Have you noticed how unreliable he's become?" These comments are subtle, never a full accusation, never enough for you to easily point a finger. But they are enough to slowly poison the well of trust that once surrounded you. Psychologists have shown that once people hear something negative about someone, even if it's later proven false, it tends to stick. Perception becomes reality. That's why the saboteur strategy is so dangerous. It moves invisibly, like a slow leak beneath a house's foundation, unnoticed until the damage is done. I recall the story of a man named David, a respected community volunteer. One day, small rumors started surfacing that he was hard to work with, that he had lost his touch. No one knew exactly where the rumors began. But they spread. Event invitations dwindled. Phone calls stopped. His reputation, carefully built over decades, unraveled, not because of one major event, but because of 1,000 whispered doubts. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, warned us about this kind of manipulation. They taught that true strength lies not in chasing rumors but in living so clearly, so virtuously, that lies fall apart against the evidence of your life. But defending your character takes more than just being good, it requires strategic awareness. Document important conversations. Keep your communication professional and clear. Surround yourself with people who know your true character deeply, not those easily swayed by gossip. And most importantly, do not allow yourself to be dragged into defensive battles. The more you explain yourself to people determined to misunderstand you, the more trapped you become. If you sense someone moving like a shadow behind your conflicts, always near, but never openly against you, it's time to recognize what you're dealing with. You're not facing simple negativity. You're confronting a hidden strategist. And the first step to defeating a saboteur is refusing to play their game. 3. The false friend facade, when loyalty is just a mask. Sometimes the greatest threats don't come from across the battlefield, they come from across your kitchen table. This brings us to the third deadly sign, the false friend facade. It's one of the oldest and most devastating tactics in human history. We've been taught from a young age that kindness, warmth, and shared laughter are signs of loyalty. But not everyone who acts like a friend truly is one. The false friend doesn't want your friendship. They want your access to your secrets, your weaknesses, your inner circle. They move quickly, becoming unusually close in a short period of time, showering you with attention, concern, and seemingly genuine support. But their goal is not connection. It's control. They'll ask personal questions under the guise of caring. How's your marriage holding up? Are you getting tired of that job yet? They'll offer help when you're vulnerable, positioning themselves as indispensable. They'll win over your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, anyone whose trust in you could be useful later. At first, it feels good. After all, who doesn't want to be understood, supported, seen? But this sudden intimacy isn't natural. It's strategic. They are building a map of your life, not to support you, but to know exactly where to strike if, and when, they choose to. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned that a friend should be chosen slowly, tested carefully, and trusted gradually. Trust should grow like an oak tree, slowly, with deep roots. But the false friend grows fast like a weed, wrapping themselves around your life before you realize their grip. I remember hearing about a woman named Helen, a widow in her 60s who welcomed a new neighbor into her life. The woman was friendly, attentive, eager to help with errands and repairs. But slowly, Helen noticed little things, private conversations that somehow became public knowledge, decisions she hadn't shared yet discussed by others. The neighbor wasn't helping. She was harvesting information. Helen learned the hard way: true friendship doesn't rush. It doesn't pry. It doesn't feel like being studied. It feels safe, balanced, and earned. Here's the safeguard. Move slowly. Guard your privacy. Test character with time, not words. Ask yourself, Why is this person so eager to be close so quickly? Real friends respect your pace. False friends push it. Trust isn't about how someone makes you feel in the moment. It's about how they act when they have nothing to gain. The false friend wants your loyalty, but what they truly seek is your vulnerability. Stay wise. Stay steady. And remember, when someone rushes to be your best friend, sometimes what they're really rushing toward is the opportunity to hurt you later. 4. Escalating aggression, the dangerous test you didn't know you were taking. Evil rarely announces itself with a shout. It doesn't usually begin with violence or an obvious threat. Instead, it starts with something far more subtle: testing. This is the fourth alarming sign: escalating aggression. When someone harbors deeper hostility toward you, they rarely strike immediately. They test your boundaries first, pushing a little here, a little there, seeing how far they can go without resistance. Each small violation is a probe, a way of asking, will you let this slide? And if you do, the next violation grows bolder. It often starts innocently. A joke with a harsh edge. A comment with an uncomfortable undertone. I could strangle you right now, they laugh, as everyone chuckles nervously. Maybe they accidentally bump you a little too hard at the grocery store and brush it off with a grin. Most people, raised in American culture to be polite and forgiving, dismiss these moments. Don't overreact, we tell ourselves. It was probably nothing. But this dismissal is exactly what the aggressor counts on. I recall the case of Leah, a young woman who lived in a quiet suburb. She met a neighbor, Adam, who seemed friendly until small things began happening. He stood too close in conversations. He made strange jokes about getting away with murder. One day, Leah found a hunting knife left neatly at her doorstep. Authorities brushed it off as a prank, until she installed a camera and caught Adam trying to break into her home at 2 a.m. The Stoic philosophers, particularly Seneca, taught that we must not live in fear, but neither should we blind ourselves to danger. Forewarned is forearmed. Evil often tests the ground before it attacks. Our job is to notice the signs, and act decisively. So what should you look for? Repeated jokes about harm, always followed by a laugh. Frequent minor physical invasions of your space, brushing past you, standing too close. Comments that cross the line, disguised as humor or just kidding. If you experience a pattern of escalating discomfort, don't excuse it. Document incidents if necessary. Set firm verbal boundaries early, direct, calm, and clear. And most importantly, trust your gut. If someone's behavior unsettles you, it's not paranoia. It's intuition warning you to protect yourself. Predators escalate because they assume you won't notice, or won't resist. But you can. Remember, courage isn't just about facing down major threats. It's about recognizing the minor ones before they grow into something far worse. Stay sharp. Stay guarded. And never let small tests turn into big tragedies. 5. The patient predator, the most dangerous enemy you never suspect. The most dangerous threats in life aren't the ones who rush toward you in anger. They're the ones who wait. This brings us to the fifth and final warning sign: the patient predator. Unlike impulsive aggressors, patient predators play the long game. They don't seek immediate gratification. They don't lash out in fits of rage. Instead, they blend into your life quietly, gathering information, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike when you are least prepared. Their strength isn't physical force, it's time. They might pose as a loyal friend, a helpful neighbor, or even a trusted colleague. They listen attentively, remember the details you forget you've shared, and build a carefully constructed image of dependability and harmlessness. But behind that patient smile, they are studying your weaknesses. They note when you are most vulnerable, after a loss, during a stressful move, after a health scare. They track your routines. They learn when you'll be alone. They wait not for you to make a mistake, but for the right circumstances to unfold naturally. The most unsettling part? Because they've spent months or even years building your trust. When they finally betray you, it feels like the floor falling out from under your life. History is full of examples. Julius Caesar, one of the most powerful leaders of his time, was not brought down by his enemies in battle, but by his most trusted ally, Brutus. As the Stoics remind us, appearances can be fatally misleading. First, say to yourself what you would be, Epictetus wrote, and then do what you have to do. In other words, never let your guard down simply because everything seems peaceful. Signs of a patient predator can include unusual attentiveness to the smallest details of your life, unasked for favors that create a false sense of obligation, sudden offers of help that seem too generous for the situation, consistent presence during moments of vulnerability, even when uninvited. How do you protect yourself? First, trust patterns, not promises. Real friends and allies prove themselves over time by respecting your boundaries, not crossing them. Second, guard personal information carefully. Just because someone seems trustworthy doesn't mean they have earned access to your private world. And third, stay vigilant even when everything seems fine, especially when everything seems fine. Kindness and politeness are virtues. But they must be balanced with caution. Not every smile is sincere. Not every helping hand is harmless. The patient predator is patient because they intend to win completely. Don't let them. Stay wise. Stay discerning. And above all, remember, in a world where appearances can lie, your instincts are often the truest defense you have. Conclusion. Hatred is easy to recognize. It shouts, it glares, it storms out of the room, but the true danger? It smiles. It studies. It sabotages. It waits. Today, you've learned how silent observers, quiet saboteurs, false friends, escalating aggressors, and patient predators operate, not through open attacks, but through slow, deliberate erosion of your trust, safety, and peace. This isn't about living in fear. It's about living with eyes wide open. Awareness is not paranoia, it is wisdom. It is survival. Stoic philosophy teaches that real power lies in vigilance over your own mind and environment. The threats we recognize are the ones we can withstand. The ones we ignore are the ones that break us. If anything today resonated with you, if someone came to mind, don't brush it off. Listen to your instincts. Trust the patterns you observe, not just the words you hear. Protect your peace. Guard your boundaries. Choose your company wisely, because in the end, the enemy you see is far less dangerous than the one you refuse to see. Stay sharp. Stay safe. Stay alive.